emails being released from Jeffrey Epstein and to and from a bunch of other people. And the interesting thing about some of these emails is we have the emails that the Democrats released, but now the Republicans are releasing emails that they think are going to help out Donald Trump, which is interesting for a few reasons. First of all, so you can release the Epstein files, but only if you think in the last moment it might help your dear leader. Weird that you couldn't get to that a couple months ago. I mean, you kept saying that you wanted transparency. Interesting. Anyway, one email, this is Epstein and former Obama White House counsel Kathy Rumler discussing Michael Cohen potentially flipping on Donald Trump. The subject line of the email reads, New York Times, Donald Trump's high crimes and misdemeanors. And so Rumler shares an article with Epstein. It says, here's a story from the New York Times that I thought you'd find interesting. The principled case for impeachment is clear. What's missing is the courage. It shares this Bret Stephens op-ed. And I'm glad that we got this story, although I don't like anyone wasting their time sharing Bret Stephens op-eds. That's just my position. Epstein replies to that saying, I think he makes the argument that it was his, Trump's money, making it not illegal, talking about some of what might lead to his impeachment. Remember, Stormy Daniels and all that. Though he also said he only found out afterwards, and the fact, according to the indictment, was billed as services rendered and grossed up. I'm sure his account has flipped anyway. I did talk in detail to Starr yesterday in regard to indictments, how Trump can make a deal, special counsel. Clinton's trash can, yes, Starr gave me more. And at that point, I think like most people, I was like, if Jeffrey Epstein didn't go down for all of the sex crimes, he should go down for the way he writes his emails. Because like seriously, like this is, honestly, maybe it's good that they put those AI tools into email so they can clean it up a little bit. He really could have benefited from that. But anyway, importantly, Rumler then responds, it makes no difference whether it was his money. Issue is failure to disclose, and that was an important issue in it. Epstein replies, you see, I know how dirty Donald is. My guess is that non-lawyers, New York biz people have no idea what it means to have your fixer flip. Now look, there's a lot of emails that get into this area, and this is, it's a little bit aside from all of the pedophilia, the sex trafficking, the sexual assault stuff. It's what Jeffrey Epstein actually knew about Donald Trump in terms of his business dealings, but also some of his foreign connections. Like supposedly Epstein was communicating with the Russians about Donald Trump too. We don't have a lot of information about that. But one of the undercurrents of all of this is that Jeffrey Epstein appeared to believe that if he wanted to, he could take down Donald Trump with the information that he has. And I think very naturally, a lot of us will think, well, this is a guy that has often been talked about as someone who seemed interested in potentially blackmailing people. And there's a lot of theories about who he'd be blackmailing them to benefit. It could be for his own money. Obviously, he was a very self-interested person. Some people believe that he might have been working for a foreign intelligence service, including potentially for Israel. And so it could be business stuff, it could be tax stuff, fraud stuff that he's talking about potentially being able to take him down for, the dirty stuff. But it could also be that they're party buddies. And he knew that he'd been spending hours in his house with one of the victims. And we have other emails that get into that. Maybe it's just the traditional definition of dirty in this case. I don't know. All I can say is I would like more information. And that sets me very much apart from anyone in the White House right now and the vast majority of Republicans, unfortunately. And so let's talk a little bit more about some of what else has been discussed. A lot of people, including Carolyn Leavitt, we showed you a clip earlier today, said Donald Trump did nothing wrong because he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago. Now he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago like 2 decades into their friendship. So I don't know that that's the proof that he never did anything wrong that Carolyn Leavitt would pretend to believe that it is. But at the very least, it's a claim that at some point around the initial investigation of Epstein, which was damn near 2 decades ago, that was it. They weren't friends anymore. Whatever he might have done before then, well, that's a hard line. He didn't do anything after that. But did he? Because there was another email that was released November 23rd, 2017. And in this exchange, Epstein discusses his plans for the coming days with someone described as Faith Cates in Epstein's email contacts. And Cates asks where Epstein is spending Thanksgiving. And Epstein responds, EVA. Cates replies that Glenn will be there, but that he is such a snooze, and then asks who else is down there, to which Epstein responds, David Fizzle, Hansen, Trump. To which Cates responds, have fun. And I love, by the way, that as far as 2017, there are still people just having cordial email exchanges with Jeffrey Epstein. I mean, everybody knew who he was and what he did at that point, so that doesn't reflect very well on them. But are you telling me, or is Jeffrey Epstein telling us, that in 2017, Donald Trump had Thanksgiving with Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump in 2017, of course, was president of these United States. And Epstein is claiming that he had Thanksgiving with him. Now, I believe the official Mar-a-Lago log says that Donald Trump had Thanksgiving dinner there. And I'm pretty sure that if Jeffrey Epstein had shown up at Mar-a-Lago, we probably would have heard about it. But do we know for sure that just because the log says that Trump was in Mar-a-Lago 2017 Thanksgiving, that he actually was? Again, this is a very specific claim, like the claim that Trump had spent hours with a victim in Epstein's house, that if it was untrue, you would think you would want to prove it. As hard and fast as you can. Again, not hearing anything. Donald Trump doesn't seem to want to talk about this. I mean, let's check every once in a while as we do the show. Maybe Donald Trump is gonna post on Truth Social at some point while we're live, but he's very quiet about some of these specific claims. Now, there's a lot of other crazy emails. There's a reference in the email, by the way, like I've referenced how the right would go crazy about this if it had been about Clinton. There's actually a reference to Clinton implying that he had never been to Epstein's Island. So I guess that's good news for Bill today or whatever. But then finally, we're gonna end with this. March 9th, 2016, an exchange with a Trump confidant and real estate investor, Tom Barack. Barack writes, "Hope you're good, let's catch up." To which Epstein responds, "Send photos of you and child. Make me smile." Barack is now the US ambassador to Turkey. And that is just, it's just gross. It doesn't necessarily reflect that poorly on Donald Trump, but it's all of these people who had perfectly cordial relationships with Jeffrey Epstein way after the initial investigation, way after his initial, slap on the wrist sentence. But the dude went to jail for this, kind of. And all of these people are just super cordial. Again, like QAnon was a big load of nonsense in a lot of ways, but the idea that there could be this elite network of people that don't give a damn about sex crimes as long as you have power and you have money and you have influence, this is a very good demonstration of it. And interesting that as the most evidence of their core thesis ever is being unveiled to us, the vast majority of those people who had spent years devoted to this were willing to set fire to their familial relationships over this conspiracy theory. Now at this late date, they're not interested and they don't want to hear about it. They definitely don't think that Donald Trump should waste his time. It seems like a bit of a hoax to them.
If you enjoyed that, then make sure that you never miss another video by subscribing. And if you want a little more, consider hitting the join button and becoming a member. So you're probably wondering, why would I do that? Well, when you do that, you get access to bonus content that I make every single week, and it's a lot of fun. You get custom emojis and more. If you join at tier 3, by the way, you even get access to a monthly member hangout with myself. And you'll get all that going forward, but you'll also unlock years of the back catalog that is literally 100 or more bonus clips and top 10 lists and debates and more. So what are you waiting for?